I'm Dr. Carlo Siracusa at Ryan Veterinary Hospital, and you are listening to the True Philadelphia podcast with Matt O'Donnell.
I've been thinking so much about what this pandemic is doing to us as humans and how it might change us. Animals, too. Early on, especially in the first week of the stay-at-home order in Pennsylvania, I noticed my dog Bailey, an 8-year-old Shichon, was a little spooked. You could just tell by his behavior that he knew something had changed. Something was wrong. Something was different. Something was not good. I spoke to Dr. Carlo Siracusa about this. He works at Penn's Ryan Veterinary Hospital and studies animal behavior, animal stress, and animal aggression. What is going on with my dog Bailey with Dr. Carlo Siracusa in the True Philadelphia podcast. Dr. Carlo Siracusa, you work at Ryan Veterinary Hospital at Penn, and a lot of your work is in animal behavior, stress evaluation, and canine aggression. Kind of go through, not quickly, but kind of summarize what some of the work you've been doing and what some of the things that you're trying to figure out right now when it comes to animal behavior.
Yeah, so most of our activity, as you were saying correctly, is clinical activity. So we help mostly, not only, but mostly people that have dogs and cats with behavior problems. And for behavior problems, I mean either normal behaviors in animals that they don't fit very well in a human environment, or behaviors that are abnormal, that are pathological. And as I was saying, a large percentage of patients that we see, they do have some type of anxiety-related problem, which is related to the environment, as we said before, that they don't control, but also related to their temperament, right? Their genetics, their early experience. So we try to help them to go through these problems.
Bailey, come here. Come here. I want you to meet Dr. Siracusa. All right, doctor, so this is Bailey.
Hey.
Say hi, Bailey.
What's his name?
His name is Bailey.
Bailey.
Yeah, he's a Shichon. And he loves treats, and he knows he's going to get one because he's going to sit still for me. There you go, buddy.
And what is your personal experience in these days with Buddy?
So what we've discovered with Bailey is that he can be very sensitive when there's extreme change. And for instance, we had a bunch of windows done in our house, and he wasn't right during the whole process. He didn't like it at all. And we saw similar behavior when the pandemic began. And he noticed that, me, for instance, I was around a little bit more than usual, and everyone else was around, and he didn't like it. And that's what caused me to reach out to you, because I'm trying to explain why he's acting like this.
What do you mean for he didn't like it? Like what was he doing?
He just would act strange. Sometimes lethargic. Sometimes he looked suspicious of people and what we're doing, and he would monitor what people are doing a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's. I got many calls. To begin with, I would say with friends that are having problems, or at least they are observing changes in their pets, but also clients that are seeing. Or you have to consider that many of our patients, to begin with, they have some anxiety-related problems, right? So for our patients, it might be even more difficult than for the average dog. But it's definitely challenging. It can be challenging for many pets.
So why do certain dogs get stressed out when they notice there is something different going on?
So they do get stressed out because there is a change, a significant change, I would say, in the environment that, to begin with, they have some problem controlling. what does this mean? It means that our pets, even if we love them, they are still captive animals, right? They can decide uh, that when they can go outside. Let's say that for them, the stay-at-home condition, it's a permanent condition, unless we decide that they can go outside. So what happens in their life is that they learn that we have a schedule, right? And they adjust to our schedule, which becomes their schedule. But again, not because they choose so, but because they don't have any other option. So they adjust to our rhythm. So they tend to be less active probably when we are away and more active when we are at home. They adjust to a certain, for dogs that go outside, they adjust to a certain schedule for going outside, which also, let's not forget that the changes are not only in the inside the environment, that is not only in the house, but also outside, right? They're used to take walks outside at a specific time, and usually at this time, certain things are happening. So there is a certain amount of people, they might meet their dog buddies, but even when they go outside, now probably it has changed. People might just look different, right? Even just wearing a simple mask on our face, it takes away a lot of visual cues that the dogs were using to recognize people. So they experience this change inside and outside. And even if we are educated to think that our animals, they do love human companionship because they are um, domestic animals, domesticated animals. This is true, but this does not mean that they love or need an endless amount of human interaction, human companionship. And this is true for humans too. Uh, One of the uh, problems related to all being confined at home is that our human to human relationship can be challenged, right? One thing is that you love someone. Another thing is if you live in a small apartment, you just don't have your own personal spaces and your own moments to calm down. Uh, and this is magnified for dogs and cats, which again, they had to set their own routine according to our previous schedule. And then suddenly we decide that we are going to completely change the schedule, right? And completely invade their space, because before, when nobody was home, at a certain time of the day, some spaces in the house, they were their safe spaces. Nobody was there. They could go there and just rest. Uh, but now it's not possible, especially for families, for example, that have young kids, right? That definitely the environment of the kids, it's less stimulated. The the creature that they have around, that moves around, that does interactive things like their friends do, is probably now their dog, and so they are on top of the dog more than usual, and this can be overwhelming for dogs.
Sure. So, I mean, bottom line, they have their own territory in their own homes, and also they can get sick of us.
Yes, it's this, but I would say more than the territory, because territory sometimes it comes for people with a, a, a meaning, like something that they would defend. It's not really defending their territories. It's really having their safe spaces, right? So the spaces where they can just go and disconnect, because no organism, no living being can stay constantly in a state of activation, right? Always listening to someone or always doing something. We all need our quiet time. And so we have invaded their quiet spaces.
So, my next question is, why are they so sensitive to these things? Hey, Bailey. And I guess that mainly it's just a survival type of mode for them, right?
Yes, this is a response that has been selected by Mother Nature uh, to allow all animals to cope with their environment. And even humans, we do have the same type of response, the same type of biological response, which is called the stress response. And and this is the response that whenever there is a challenge or a threat or just a stimulus that requires an action, we need to activate our stress response. Our body needs to prepare for something. And this is what happens to us during our day. So constantly we receive stimuli. We are asked to be proactive and to take an action. So this response is constantly active. We feel that we are in this constant emotional arousal. And as a matter of fact, when we have a long working day, or even worse, a work day not just long, but also that doesn't go as planned, like unpredictable. This increases our emotional arousal. So at night we feel exhausted, not just physically, but also mentally. We need our quiet time. And this is exactly the same thing that happens to dogs and cats and all animals. Our bodies are prepared to have times of actions that in nature it would have been when we needed to look for food or when we needed to defend ourselves from predators, and any activity that would require a lot of energy and a lot of arousal, both physical and emotional. It activated the stress response. But then also we had a lot of quiet time, at least in our original life, not in our modern life. And when we cannot have these quiet times, our body suffers and our mind suffers because the stress response is chronically activated, is always activated. And really, we exhaust our physical options. This is also what happens. It's really that our body cannot cope with it. So there are natural mechanisms that in an artificial environment, as it is both our modern life or our pet's life, which again, they are captive, it can have a huge impact on this natural response that was designated to be activated and deactivated. If you look at animals that live in semi-feral conditions, not necessarily wild animals. I'm talking about dogs and cats that they have the possibility to live in conditions that are more similar to their natural condition. They do take a lot of resting time. And they don't tend to be like our resting time. Like we are very active during the day, then we go to sleep and we take 7 hours all in a row. It's not like this for our animals. They have a peak of activity, which usually correspond with hunting and eating and playing. Playing can also be a surrogate for hunting because they don't do hunting in our apartments or houses. And then they have a lower level of activity. And then they start again. So usually there are cycles. And when you are always around them, they can't have the cycles. They have to adjust to your rhythm. Again, they tend to be very intense during the day and much, much less intense at night.
So the best advice, doctor, I guess, is to give your pet space when they need it, right?
Absolutely. Give space and give time. Give time, it means that you should try to keep as much as you can your daily schedule similar to what it used to be, and to make sure that your pet has his or her quiet time. And what does quiet time mean? Quiet time means basically that they can go to their safe spot, which might be for some dogs is a crate, for other dogs is a little bed. It might be a mat. For my cat, is a little igloo that she has that she gets inside. But when they are in their places, they should not be disturbed. Just going and try to stimulate our animal when it's trying to decrease this level of arousal is not good. So give time, these intervals of time, and give space. Yeah, make sure that the safe spaces that you set for your pet, they are at a reasonable distance from where the action in the house is. So they should not be, I don't know, in the kids' room where the kids spend many hours during the day, right? It should be, I don't know, in the kitchen, so you are there lunch and dinner, but then it's quieter during the day. But at the same time, keep in mind that they are still social animals. So they still need contact with us, which usually is visual contact. So it might be a place that is distant enough to be quiet, but at the same time that is easy for them to reach to us when they want. Like we do with people, right? You should empower people to start or finish an interaction as they please. And it's not because they are dominant. This has nothing to do with being dominant or we're running the house. It's just living all together, not having the possibility to take a break one from each other.
Well, listen, Bailey's been pretty good. I only had to give him three
Oh, it's not
treats
that. Look.
to get him to, sit with me here. I have to ask real quick, how is your cat Elsa doing in all this? Is your cat noticing anything different?
She did at the very beginning. She did. She was very confused. She definitely. I saw that at the beginning her level of activity decreased a lot. So she was spending a lot of time in her little bed, little igloo that she has, cave that she goes into. And now I was seeing this, it's because I saw that, for example, even the amount of hair or the times that she was using the litter box had decreased. Now she's doing much, much better. And actually, her amount of activity has increased a lot. And I think it's actually higher than the usual level of activity. And she often comes and wants to sit here with me and help with work. It's not always a lot of help. But yeah, now she has adjusted. I think she's doing much, much better. But I did what we discussed before. I tried to not interfere and just leave her the possibility to choose whatever she wants. And I have to say, for example, she almost never leaves the rooms where she used to be when I was not here, because this is a safe space. So it's my responsibility to make sure that I do not disturb too much her safe space.
Well, on behalf of Bailey and I, Dr. Carlo Siracusa, thanks so much for joining us on the True Philadelphia podcast. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. And I hope that this stressful time for people and pets will soon be gone, and it also an important teachable moment for us to live better with our pets.
Bailey agrees. Ditto. Our thanks to Dr. Siracusa. Thanks to Bailey for enduring a long interview when he would have preferred to be sleeping on his normal spot on the couch. I'm Matt O'Donnell, and thanks to you, as always, for listening to the True Philadelphia podcast.